but oh well. I don't have this under control yet.
Oh, here we go. Jenny Z, let me see if can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Sure. Hi, Karyne. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for doing this. This is awesome.
Oh, great. Thanks.
I have a question. So, to the first point that you brought up when you opened about how the body is reveals what we're not willing to reveal. So, as like a massage person, how can, like, if we were to just notice that in someone's body and we're not a mental health person, how can we bring that up, like, ethically, and like talk about that, like, within our scope of practice, and like without blindsiding too, because what's the client expecting, like what's the context of the session and all that stuff, like what do we do with this information if we
All right, well, that's a very interesting question. So there's two things. If you're a therapist, you have to be honest. You have to say, one of my skills is to read the body and see things that you may not be consciously aware of, although you may have a sense of them. Would you like me to do a body reading? So you ask for permission. You don't just now. So that's one way to do it. And then you actually do a body reading. And if you come into the supervision, then we'll show you how to do that. However, you also have a right to say to someone, if you're working with them and they're paying you because they want the service and they want your honest feedback, you might say, how do you think you handle anger? So if you know that person is overcharged all over their body, you already have an idea that they hold it in until they're going to blow up. So you ask them first, how do you handle anger? And then, so you open the topic, and then you say, well, here's what I think, or here's what I imagine from looking at your body. So you don't have to do a full body reading, Jenny, to be able to bring it up, but you do have to be tactful. So tact is important. The other thing, the harder problem is, what do you do with people in your personal life? You know, your partner at work, your spouse, your ex-boyfriend, you know, whatever. Because then you're not, you know, that you can't just like put this stuff on somebody just because they're in your life. So what I think is important is not to try to change anybody else, but if you see something, then use that as kind of just information. I can get along better with this person if I don't, you know, if I'm not critical. Or I can get along better with this person if I tell them I love them once or twice a day, you know, because you know they need that. So you can use this information to enhance your life without invading anybody's privacy. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Okay, good. Any other questions from anybody?
Yeah, Jessica Gelson asked more about the throat. Is there something specific you wanted to know about the throat?
I wanted to know, like, what exactly are you looking at? I've never actually paid attention to the throat, so I'm curious about what you're looking for in that area.
Okay, so we're going to go back to it in the next couple slides, because I just pulled out some things from a magazine to get us started talking tonight. So I'm going to use magazine pictures. But what in the slide I already showed you, you're looking at a couple things. You're looking at, you put your hand here and see if there's energy moving around that chakra. So usually the palm of your hand has chakras in it. So you want to use your palm, you don't want to touch the throat, about 1 inch away, and see what's happening there, if it's warm. The other thing you can do is just move your palm. That will get this chakra kind of going if it's not moving. So that's one thing. Listen to the tone of voice. If I start talking like this, what does that tell you? What are you hearing, Jessica? What's my throat doing? You can unmute yourself.
Yeah, sorry, I had to get up there. Yeah, the childlike
So
sound.
what makes it childlike? That all of a sudden there's a contraction in my vocal cords, right? And listen to where the sound comes from. When a person talks, is it coming from down below? Is it coming up? Or is it all coming from here? You know? So how that gives you some idea if they're in contact, if they're embodied. Because if you're not embodied, your voice isn't going to come from your body, right? So that's just a couple little things right there, is to listen to people, hear their sound, hear their pace. And at the same time, you can feel the energy. People will let you do that. So I'm going to move, if there's no other question, I'll move back to the slides. Mike, what do you say?
Well, Karen, there were two more that were about, swelling, bloating in the abdomen, accumulated stagnant energy. Is that something you address later? Or?
Who asked that one?
Well, Nani Valentine.
Okay. Is she here or he here?
I think they were.
Okay. So again,
yes, that's me. And I.
Say that again. Hi.
It feels like it's higher, like over the solar plexus, and it's a kind of. I haven't changed my lifestyle that much, but there's this sort of what feels like stagnant energy, and I'm wondering if that's a likely interpretation of that.
Yes. Stagnant energy would be a good interpretation. It's right at the solar plexus. Is that what you say, Noni?
Yeah. Yeah. Under the chest. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you haven't changed your life, but are you happy in your life? I mean, you don't have to answer that question. But
well, it's funny. I mean, I am now on a path that makes sense, whereas I was moving back from abroad a few years ago, and it was completely difficult and dramatic and traumatic. But I haven't known how to proceed exactly, and I still don't have those answers. But now I feel more flow. So there's it's that. Incongruence that confuses me a little bit, actually.
Right. Well, I think you're moving in the right direction, obviously, but I think your heart needs to be. Remember, I talked earlier about integration. So you're leaving out your heart. You said you're on a path that makes sense. That tells me your brain's involved, but you have to feel the passion around it too. Are you getting me?
Which I do feel, actually.
Okay,
I do,
fantastic.
very much. Yes, okay. I am. Yep.
Okay, so that's it. So then you just have to start working with your solar plexus. Start digging your hands into it, massaging it deeply, really connecting to that part of your body. Sometimes in core, are you a core therapist? I don't know if you're core or not. We use the roller, and that's
no, I'm not. I'm more. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, okay. That's a really good idea. Have a roller, I can do that easily.
Fantastic, great. Okay.
Yeah, so basically you want to get it. Yeah. All right, thanks. That's perfect.
Okay, good. Okay, and was there one more, Mike? And then I'm going to go back to the neck again.
Well, there was a request to return to the slides, but then also maybe keep in mind if you have any recommendations on what's the difference online versus in person.
Of doing a body reading or
Yeah.
what? Well, I'm not doing a body reading online, so I would and I will, but not with so many people. I think that it's not, I think that the difference is, as I think about it, let me just, hold on, I'm not getting, okay. In
The
person,
intent is to tell the stories and the histories behind scientific discovery. Now, this story, from controversy to cure, is particularly relevant for all of us because it touches all of our lives individually. Not all scientific discovery touches us all so personally and so deeply.
I don't know
But this tells the story of the revolution in molecular biology and understanding of
Mike, can you
processes
set that person on, please?
Cures and
Who's talking? Mike?
That was Nani. I've muted her.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, I'm the only person that's going to answer questions tonight. So what was the question again? So when you're in person, you're more sensitive, and body readings can be vulnerable because body readings often show, you know, things about a person that, you know, they're not, it's not obvious to them. So it's very nice to be with them and connect with them. But you can do an equally good body reading online. And, you know, I've seen some of the body readings I've done online and they're excellent. It's just that you don't have that rapport that is so beautiful. It would be best if you do them online, if you do it with someone you have some, you've had a relationship with at some point, so that there's that rapport there. Is that possible to think about? Okay, I'm going to go back to the share my screen and we'll talk a little more. Okay, so here we are with two people. This is from a magazine, but I thought it was kind of interesting because they both have these really kind of long necks. So the length of a neck can make a difference. With a long neck, it's basically showing there's a disconnect to some degree between head and body. I'm gonna get my little annotating thing here again. So it's really important in our work to have the body and head integrated as one. People who don't want to experience feelings pull away from their bodies. And you can really see that in his case, he's way away. In her case, she has a slight bend to the neck with the chin kind of going up. And that would be a sense of at birth not feeling completely welcome on the planet. So there's a way of almost wanting to go back up to something that feels more at home in a spiritual. If we talk to her, she might be a very spiritual person. But you're going to be looking at length of neck and which way it's bending, to the left or to the right, and what's going on with the chin. But again, these people feel like they're separating from their bodies. The neck can also be a sign of pride and ego. So how many of you, if you touch the back of your neck right now, you know, what do those long muscles feel like? Are they stiff? Are they tense? So the neck represents ego, but it can also represent having too much pride. And I would certainly say this gentleman suffers from that. He looks kind of rigid in his appearance. I don't know, or how he photographs anyhow. So let me move on to this next slide or picture. And this is a gentleman, and you may have this yourself or know people that do, who kind of their neck is very short or kind of almost in their shoulders. So this person with his broad shoulders, wide chest, short neck, looks like he, that would be an overcharge. So the energy is kind of stuck and not moving. So he doesn't have a lot of flow. If you could see, he would be very constricted. Everything would be tight inside of himself. So when I said, how does this person handle anger? He's somebody, again, that would keep it, wouldn't let you know he was angry. He'd have a big smile on his face. He'd try to please you, or he'd look like he'd be pleasing you. He could be passive aggressive and doing something totally different. On the inside, he yearns for freedom. He would have difficulty speaking his truth. And if you remember from your studies of the masochistic personality, that person doesn't want to say anything that's going to create a problem with his or her parents. So even though he disagrees, not going to say that. So everything is kept inside. And that's a very sad situation, actually. You know, I was thinking of a good friend of mine who is no longer alive, who was a core person and just could not express himself. And beautiful man, but he could not express his feelings. So, arms and hands. Very important. So this is where we kind of leave core for a minute and go more into nonverbal communications. Here's a person who apparently is reaching out. And look, she has a smile on her face. She's kind of leaning in towards somebody. She's saying, this side of her body saying, wow, you know, I like you. I want to have something to do with you. But then look at this hand here. So it's dropped down, turned inward, palm not exposed, break at the wrist, so the energy breaks right here. So certainly if you were a client and you saw this, you would notice the ambivalence that on one hand, she looks like she wants to welcome you. And on the other hand, she looks like she really just wants to not welcome you, get away. So those are the small, subtle things you want to begin to notice as you work with people. And that isn't really necessarily body reading. You're going to just see that in session all the time. You're going to see the left side of the body doing one thing and the right doing another. And just be aware of it. And there may be a way you can use that in one of your interventions. Here's a person, again, arms crossed. Now, she could be cold, I guess, but she also could be saying, no, you know, you're not getting to me. I'm not going to share my feelings. I'm not interested. And here's the guy, you know, a clam digger, I guess, reaching out with clams. But, you know, again, so the important thing for you is look at the shoulders. Do the shoulders let the person reach forward? Do they let them push somebody away? If the shoulders are too rigid, that person's stuck somewhere in childhood. Either they weren't allowed to express their aggression or they didn't feel safe bringing someone close. So that's really, the shoulders are, in my opinion, very key to what happens with the arms and hands. So if you have questions, just jot them in the chat, or if you have differences of opinion, because it's certainly, I would be interested in what you have to say, because this is interesting. So I picked this picture out because I thought this was really unusual to see in a magazine. I mean, I see this in people all the time, but I usually don't see it in a magazine. Look at the space between this woman's legs. And also her partner has quite a bit of space between his legs. Now, and her legs are just about bow-legged. So energy comes down from your root chakra, which is here, and we call it the perineum. And it's supposed to go down directly into the floor and ground you. That's what grounding is all about. That energy comes right down and it goes back up again. When this energy comes down in this lady, it's going like this, and it's dispersing. Oops, sorry, I lost you here. It's dispersing into the atmosphere. So, you know, if she were your client, you might not say to her, you know, I think you have sexual issues, but you would certainly bring up the topic of sex, and, you know, you have a right as if you're a therapist to begin to question that. Again, if it's a person in your life, it's a little trickier. In her case, she's showing signs of fragmentation, or what we call schizoid. Her body's going in all different directions. She's leaning back, she's going to the side, her head's over here. So if you want to know how to recognize someone who has schizoid qualities, this is a good picture here, that everything seems to be moving in different directions. Probably if we could see her back, she might even have some scoliosis. Now in his case, I don't know about him. He has, it looks like he's trying to be kind of masculine. He has that kind of stance, but again, there's this separation in his legs, and it looks like the way his shirt wrinkles, there's probably indentation here at the heart. So he may have had some kind of rejection. Again, I'm doing a lot of speculating since I don't know these people and they're not here to speak for themselves. So this is why this is just to whet your appetite and make you think about things. So I'm going to stop the share for a minute and come back, and let me ask again for comments or questions. I did several slides, so there may be several different things. And Mike, if you can help with the questions, then the person, and ask the person to unmute themselves so we have a little more control.
Here we go. Cheryl Musgrave, do you want to unmute yourself and ask the question?
Hey, hi, Karyne. So
Hi.
what stance would indicate that they have good grounding in their sexuality?
Generally, your legs go straight. Think about legs coming straight down from the pelvis, and about maybe a small distance apart, 3 inches, 6 inches. I don't know if I have room here to stand, but I don't think I really do. But you want the legs to really be go straight down into the floor. The legs are going to be like a tunnel, or like railroad tracks, guiding the energy down. So they can't be too far apart. However, in our culture, we're taught different things like that. Some people think they're more grounded if they have a really wide stance because they feel strong. The truth is they're less grounded. You're most grounded if your legs, I would say probably 3, 4, 5 inches apart, but parallel.
Thanks.
The problem is, as you work with people, don't force them to change, Cheryl, but what you're going to see is because people's feet pronate outward or inward, their knees go out or in, you're going to meet very few people that can really do that. So they have to work with their grounding first. So look carefully at people. You'll see a lot, you'll get a lot of information from the legs. Okay, someone else had a question?
Yeah, the next question was from Gavin.
Yeah, hi Karen, hi everyone. Thanks for having the class. This is kind of forever my question about these kinds of things, and it's basically when you talk, or I've heard other people talk, or I read, books about this stuff, when you talk about perceiving energy, so you say, I'm looking at the throat and I'm trying to tell if there's energy moving there. So I'm not a person who sees energy visually, like you were talking about gray energy in the solar plexus. I don't have any visual capacity that has revealed itself yet to see energy. So I'm looking for, in the most basic way that you can explain it, how a person who doesn't visually see energy, how would you coach me or anybody else to talk about perceiving, energy or lack of energy in someone's body with a visual scan? Does that make sense?
Well, I think are you a healer at all? Have you done the Brennan School? Have you done anything like that? Or?
I'm a core energetics therapist.
Okay. So, are you tactile? Can you feel heat?
Yeah.
Okay. So you can ask your client if you can put their hand in front of their throat and also do the back of their neck. In fact, you might even just want to bring your hands, I don't know if you can see me because I can't see me, but bring your hands around the whole area. So see if you feel it. Listen to their voice. Use your auditory skills.
Yeah.
Have them do staccato breathing and see how that sounds. Can they do they have a throat block or are they stuck there?
Right. And just so it's clear, I wasn't necessarily asking specifically about the throat, but just the general idea of perceiving energy.
Okay. So I try to teach people to see it, to be honest with you. I didn't see it until I started working with John, and he taught me. He made me go out and buy a pair of those blue, whatever glasses, the cobalt glasses. And I had to, stand in my office and look at one client after another for 2 or 3 years. And eventually I could see it. So it's learning how to use, I forget if it's the rods or the cones, but learning how to use night vision. And that's why you have your client stand against a white screen or a black screen. So eventually you could learn to see it, but it's not, you don't have to. But I bet you anything, like if you and I were in a session together and we had a client lie down and hit and kick on a mattress, you would start to see stuff moving around that body. You might not see colors, but you would see grays and all kinds of stuff.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other questions, Mike?
There were several. The next one was from Anna Fox about the right-left contrasts.
Hi. So my question is kind of two-part. One is, do you subscribe to the idea that the right side is masculine energy and the left side is feminine? And if so, then would a contrast like extending the left hand but withholding the right represent the masculine and feminine aspects being incongruent in their expression? So for example, like with the left hand reaching forward, she wants to connect, whereas her masculine aspect is more reluctant to.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I subscribe to it because it works, and I'm a very practical person. So it's a way to talk to clients, and to make sense to them. I don't know if it's totally true or not. I haven't gotten to the brain to that degree. I do believe that, from what I know about the right brain, that the left hand would, and I'm left-handed too, so, but I don't fit the whole picture of this. But, I think that, how do I say? I think that the left side is more receptive in a certain way and more holistic, and spiritual. And the right side, I think, is more linear and assertive. You know, if I was going to punch somebody, I'd want to use my right hand. However, you know, again, I don't know if that's just heuristic and it works, so that's what we teach it, or what the brains are really doing. For myself, I shattered my left elbow when I was 10. I've had 3 surgeries on it, fell on it again. Did I have issues with my mother? Yes, so it certainly fits for me. But so it's not all good stuff. You know, it's where where you got your injuries, and how does that connect to the issue? Now, elbows, where I shattered my elbow, and knees relate to the heart. So that's about love. If it's the wrist, it relates to sexuality. If it's the hand, it relates to safety. So what's happened? It's not just right and left. It's what you've hurt on the right or left side. Okay.
Thank
And
you.
again, these all help people look at themselves. We really can't be 100% sure about an interpretation. They have to do that. We can just act as guides. Okay, any other question, Mike, or how are we doing?
Well, the next question was from Rachel Slattery.
Hi, Rachel. Hi.
Hey, Karyne.
Haven't seen you in a while.
I know. I actually think I'd like to retract my question. I don't think it's going to be helpful for the whole group. It was about an intervention about legs, but good to see you.
Well, okay. I mean, I don't know that you can know what will be helpful, but
I can ask if you want. So it was about splayed legs. If there is a clear thing that you would suggest as an intervention, if you've got like the wide gap that woman was showing, or the schizophrenic.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, again, I would go right to what I was talking to Cheryl about. I would stand her up away from that counter she was leaning against, so she wouldn't be able to have anything to lean in my office. Her feet would have to face forward. She'd have to put her pelvis over her feet. And then we would bring those legs in slowly. And then we would spend maybe 5-10 minutes of the session, not the whole session, because it's hard for people to integrate these changes at first. But you know, there would be a good 5 minutes where she would walk around in her new posture. And then she would have homework assignments to do that at home. You know, she'd have to wash the dishes without leaning on a counter, with her legs and feet facing one direction, knees facing the same direction as her feet. Okay. So any intervention, anything you see in the body should lead to an intervention. If you're working as a therapist, if it's just your partner, no interventions. Got enough problems.
Great, thank you, Karyne.
Any other question, Mike, or what?
The next real question was from Doug Worth.
Okay.
Hi, Karyne. Yeah. Hi, Karyne. So when you're working with clients who exercise, can you talk a little bit about, you know, people think that exercise changes the body, but I'm curious your thoughts. Is it more likely to enhance an issue that the body already reveals? So upper displacement, lower, what are your thoughts about that?
I have a lot of thoughts about it. I think definitely people pick exercises that they're comfortable doing. Probably all of us do. So if someone's comfortable in their upper body, they're going to build their upper body, and their legs are still going to look like toothpicks. So they're actually, falling into the trap that you just discussed. We, as body therapists, have to suggest exercises to them that they wouldn't normally do. Because to change your body, you have to change your habit. In other words, our bodies are all frozen at this point. So we're to unfreeze them, we have to do something different with our bodies than we would normally do. So the other thing is, you know, exercise just doesn't work. I mean, it works if you know what to do, but it doesn't help you with emotion. It doesn't help you with your unconscious. It doesn't take the place of the real work we do in body psychotherapy. I mean, it's good. We should all try to do some of that to stay healthy. But the other thing is, when you see someone, like when I was in Philadelphia, I had my practice in Philly for a long time, as some people know. I worked with a lot of football players, and I worked with a lot of people in the Philadelphia Ballet. In fact, I think maybe they gave me more than John Baracus did about the body. Because I had the opportunity to deal with all these beautiful bodies, but I also saw how the energy didn't flow, how screwed up sorry, my language, how screwed up, messed up, I don't know what word to use, that people, actually the issues did not change for my best looking clients, my best physically looking clients, because again, the dancers all did the same routine. They had beautiful bodies, but you had to get them out of context and doing something different with their bodies. And the same thing with the football players, you know, big muscles, but no flow. It's scary, to be honest. I mean, it's kind of how psychopathy happens. It's when you don't have that flow. So, you know, help your clients figure out. I always, like, oral people need to exercise. So if you have working with people who are depleted, you really want to get them lifting weights. Probably people with overcharge, they shouldn't be doing that. They need to be doing some probably more aerobic stuff. So you really have to think about, and even if you look at people who have a lot of schizoid in them, they're very muscular. They're often skinny, but muscular. So again, you have to think about how their energy needs to flow when you think about how they're exercising. Okay. Any other questions?
There's actually quite a bunch of them. The next one's from Gabriella Rossi.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good.
Good. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. So considering we inherit a lot of those feelings from our ancestors, we're born with some of those body qualities.
Right.
How much can we change them? And is it a whole life maintenance kind of thing?
Okay, so I would say we can change everything, but you know, statistics seem to point out that we in 50%, approximately 50% nature and 50% nurture. But that doesn't mean you can't change nature. I mean, it just means that you just know that something has a genetic or an epigenetic piece, but you still work with it. So, I mean, there are certain things that are more genetic than others. Like, I'm not going to change the color of your eyes, but I could, and certainly, let's say if your shoulders are certain genetic structure, but I can certainly push them back or bring them forward, you know. So you work with the whole body, Gabriella. But, you know, it's fascinating. You know, to me, it's fascinating because some of it really is genetic. I was very skeptical of that. At one point, I thought everything is nurture. Well, I don't think that's true anymore. But I do think that everything, you need to work with everything. So I don't know if that's a good answer or not, but it's nice seeing you.
Nice to see you too.
Mike?
The next question was Darlene Ritchie.
Hi.
Hi, I'm much.
Thank
Where are
you.
you?
Thank you for
Oh,
this
there you are.
presentation. So I had a question about faces. So, you know, I admit my ignorance in this subject area. So maybe this is something that's well known, but I'm not talking about a simple frown or a smile in interpreting someone's face, but suppose someone, you know, has like a blank face, like, you know, neither a smile nor a frown, and you want to, is it possible to read something just from, say, the set of their eyebrows or their mouth or the jawline? Is that something to take into account? And would that be related to the 5th and 6th chakra area?
Let's see. Take away the chakra part. In core, we talk a lot about the eyes. So we talk about whether the eyes are blank or, you know, vague would be more of a schizoid, I want to get out of here kind of look. If the eyes are hard and frozen, that's more of a psychopathic, I'll kill you if you don't do what I want kind of look. We talk a lot about the jaw. So we talk about, you know, the jaw holds anger. The lips have to do a lot with sucking. You know, John Parakis, if any of you ever had him as a therapist, he'd make a suck. I had to suck because I probably have bad lips, so I had to do a lot of sucking. Didn't help, but nevertheless, I liked the exercise. So yes, we deal with parts of the face in core. In nonverbal communications, they have different interpretations, which are helpful. Like if eyebrows pull together at the nose, it means the person's depressed. If mouth turns up or down, that has meaning. So there's different influences from the two schools, depending on the kind of research that's been done. In nonverbal communications, like I studied with Birdwhistle, Ekman in California has done a lot of work. There's empirical research that you can read up on about eyebrows and all that stuff. The face has about 300 muscles in it, and nonverbal researchers know all of them. That's how they can configure those little things for children. You know, is that person happy? Is that person sad? Because they're looking at those 300 muscles to see, you know, disgust looks different than anger, you know, so there's all kinds of things we don't talk about in core. In core, we're more into the eyes, the jaw, the mouth, the forehead. I mean, John used to say if the forehead didn't have lines in it, I guess it was before Botox, because now I don't know what he'd say, but then if the forehead didn't have lines in it, he felt that the person was frightened, they were in freeze. Now we're all in freeze. So, although I haven't had Botox in a few months. COVID is ruining my face. Anyhow, so that's the best I can answer that question. Should we look at the last couple slides I have and then come back to questions? Are you ready for a diversion or you want more questions? All right, so let's see. If you want, do you want to answer more questions? Raise your hand. If you want slides? Raise your hand. Want nothing? All right, we're going to slide. I don't think I have too many more slides. This was kind of just to whet people's appetite. I didn't like put together a whole big thing here. Let's see. Get back in the screen share. Okay, so this is, for those of you who studied core, this is pretty a simple, just two men standing together from an advertisement, obviously, but you can just see this energy going up. So you can just kind of see the upper displacement. So for those of you who want to understand psychopathy, both in men and in women, you're going to have a narrower hip, and a broader shoulder. So you'll have this kind of V going on. And that's for the traditional psychopath. There are women sometimes have very big bottoms and little oral tops, but the traditional psychopath, my way or the highway kind of guy, don't believe his smile, just believe those narrow eyes, because that's, you know, his smile probably doesn't really reach his eyes. That's him. This guy, although he has a little bit of an upper displacement, he's more of the overcharge, broader here, short neck, square face, anger in the jaw. His face would be longer, except his jaw is so tight. Can you see that? So he would be more the traditional masochist or overcharged personality. Okay. This is a picture that came out of my husband, Jack, who passed away. Some of you knew him. It came out of one of his family albums, but I couldn't pass it up because, again, this woman reminds me of the other woman, except in this case, her legs are totally closed. So she's leaning back against this door. Her body's going in all different directions. I don't know if there's any way to make her bigger. I don't know how to make these people bigger. Oops, sorry. There's a very oral chest. You can't really see it here, but the collarbones stick out. So this would be an example of someone with a lot of schizoid. You weren't welcome on the planet. You weren't really wanted. And then you didn't get your needs filled once you were here. You know, she has depression. But look at these legs. So she has wide hips. There's sexual energy, but she's pressing her legs completely together. It's like nobody's going to get into my vagina. So again, you're not going to talk like that to your client, but that's what's happening here. So her sexual chakra would be closed, especially the one in the rear. I don't know if I'm making things too complex by bringing up so many things at once. So I'm pointing out orality here in the chest, collarbones sticking out very strongly, body going in many directions, and legs very closed. And the guy has some problems too, but I don't know exactly what they are. I wanted to give you some pictures of more of what we call rigid energy in cornergetics. So these two are from magazines. This is from a guy I know. I think he'd be fine with us using his back. Again, these bodies are more in harmony. Their parts kind of fit with each other. So the chest and the legs and the head and the neck and the arms are all kind of harmonious. He has a little larger upper body than lower body. That's the one lack of harmony he has, but his legs are very well shaped. So you're going to look, and you're looking at rigid harmony, you're looking for shape, and you're looking for like a nice rounded butt. The back comes out and there's like an S curve and you get that butt. Again, with the women, you know, there's more, their relationship with a little more father here, breast development, pelvic development, meaning they had relationships and then there was a rejection generally in the teenage years, or it could be around the Oedipal period. So if you work with rigid people, and a lot of you have rigidity in your body, you're probably dealing with a heart-pelvis split, because that's how you stay safe. I'm not going to love you totally with all of me. I'm just going to give you a part. There's a perfectionist. If I'm really perfect, you'll love me and I'll never lose you. I'll be so successful, you'll never want to get rid of me. So the rigid is fearful of sexual rejection. That's what they experienced early on. That's what they don't want to have again. So they're going to be perfect, so no one will have any reason to reject them. But at the same time, they separate their heart and their pelvis, so there are affairs, and they may sexually reject, even though they don't want to be sexually rejected. I'm going to take a breath. I'm talking a lot. Okay. Any thoughts? Anyone want to talk? Say something about that or ask a question? Or...
Yeah, can you tell a little bit? This is Anna. Can you tell a little bit more about the sexual rejection after and before? And does that mean that the person has more hips or something?
Who am I talking to? I can't.
To Anna.
Anna, where are you? Oh, there you are in the dark.
Yeah.
How come you're so dark? You need a light,
I'm
Anna.
just laying down.
Okay, so Anna
Yeah.
who? Anna who?
Anna Kuyumjolo,
Okay, and where are you from?
New York.
New York, okay. So what's the question again?
Okay, I was asking about when maybe you recognize me now.
Yeah, when I see you, I recognize you, yeah.
With the hips and the parents, what is the father? What does that have to do with the father? Like if the hips are like this?
All right, well, here's the issue. When core, if you remember from your studies of core, when Reich and Lowen wrote about this stuff, and there's some changes that we've talked about recently in core, but when they wrote about the father, well, it's kind of complicated. The father, when a father picks up a little girl baby has a lot of estrogen in her brain when she's born. Between 0 and 2, girls have estrogen. Between 0 and 2, baby boys have testosterone in their brain if things went well in the pregnancy. The problem is things don't always go well in the pregnancy, so people don't get the amount of hormones that maybe they should. So when a father gives affection to a girl baby because of his testosterone, when she becomes a puberty, that testosterone triggers a window in her brain which allows her estrogen to go into a certain way that it shapes her body. And the same with a little boy baby. When the mother who has a lot of estrogen is affectionate with the little boy who has a lot of testosterone, there's a window in the brain that opens up at puberty where, you know, secondary sexual characteristics are developed. So what we're really looking at is secondary sexual characteristics, which we can see between 10 to 13. Some kids get them young at 10, most get them 11 or 12, some older.
Yes, if the female has hips, that means they got a lot of affection from the dad.
Yes, or depending on the size of the hips, they could have been raped. So there's a lot. That's why this is just a whetting your appetite, because if we go into this deeper, there's many, many issues that begin to show up through this. However, as we began to talk to the gay population in our among our students and just in life among our clientele, it became apparent, at least to me and to many of the other core therapists, that it had to do more with the parent that they had a connection with, so that it's not just a 1, 2, 3 the way Parakis, Lowen, and Reich made it sound. You really have to be sensitive to what happened to that child after he or she was born, and which parent he or she felt more comfortable with. So it's not so easy, Anna.
And then also, like, it can change who the child feels more comfortable with. It may be the father and then later the mother.
Right, but the brain only has certain windows. In other words, it has to be when the brain, so, you know, that kind of sexuality has to develop fairly young. So what we're seeing, even as at puberty, we're seeing something happen at 2 or 3 or 4.
So basically the body is like a map to what's happened, the whole history.
Yeah. That's why, you know, we can't just throw out some of the early work of Reich and some of those people, because from their work in neurology, they had something to offer.
Yeah. Okay. It sounds like.
But again, we can also add some of our later findings, which I think are certainly more humanitarian and probably more accurate. It just makes it more complicated when you do the body reading.
Thing to me, because I remember when I was taking the classes at CORE, you know, the focus on the body and that training, it's like, it's really helpful. It's like you miss out a lot if you don't really know what the body is telling us. Like, I had this patient that like sat and the feet were so interesting. Like, he sat and the feet were like this, or some weird that you just don't see feet like this.
Right.
So now I haven't seen him in a while because, you know, the pandemic and where we've been doing Zoom sessions, like, and then during the sessions come to find out that he has some ritual stuff going on in the feet. But I would like to know, if he sits in front of me, how the position of the feet are right now after all the work that we've done. Like, are they any different? It speaks to me so much.
Well, hopefully, yeah, and that's why you need to get him to point his camera down toward his feet so you can see what they're doing.
I would say, do not move anything. Just point your camera.
Exactly. So the next session, you better do that. You don't move anything. I want to see your feet. Right. Exactly. That's I think it's, you know, I work with the body on Zoom as much as I do in session. I mean, in regular sessions, because that's my work. So you just have to get the people to free up their hands and get their camera so they can move it.
Yeah.
Also, you get to see more of their house that way. So it's very nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So any other questions or thoughts? I'm willing for statements. I'm also willing to have someone disagree with me.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, hi.
Karyne, this is Nelson speaking from Chile.
Hi.
Hi. I want to ask you about the picture that we show the guy in the middle, because I saw, it was a small picture, but I saw that you mentioned that there was the butt has to be a little rounded, and also he had like a shape in the legs, and I'm speaking about me because I have very like skinny. I'm skinny in general, but I have skinny legs. So I want you to speak a little bit more about the S shape on the butt. What the meaning of that? Because I feel that I in my case I have a little flatter, you know, butt. So I want
you don't have the S shape. Well, what was your relationship like with your mother?
My mother was very close to me, but as I am grown up now, I noticed that she was not really available emotionally for me, even though she was the mother and the house things.
Yeah.
But she was not close to me. She has issues, a lot of issues, but she's been close to me. But I noticed that there is an unable to, even though I know she loves me a lot, and we have always very good relationship. Different with my father.
So she was a good mother, but I don't get the feeling. So to get that kind of S-shaped curve and to get shapely legs, it doesn't matter whether it's the mother or the father, but the person has to have almost an attraction. Like you have to kind of be a little boy who says, boy, I want to marry my mother when I grow up, or I want to marry daddy when I grow up. You have to have that kind of desire, and she has to feel that toward you too. Do you remember if you had anything like that?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it was the case. I feel even as I was growing up in the 20s, and I thought about that after I started reading a little bit later on. Even I feel even like a rejection to meet someone that is like even similar or resemble my mother. I haven't had any couple like that.
Right.
I feel that is, for me, it's a rejection, and I feel that there's a lot of issues with when thinking about feeling an attraction towards my mother. I feel a lot of rejection about that, a lot of like, please, I don't want to go there.
Right. So what I hear from you is that, you know, in your work, I don't know, are you doing core work in Chile, or are you a therapist? What do you do?
No, I am an engineer, and I used to participate in groups in the United States a long time ago. And in Chile, there is a very incipient starting a group from Florida. I think they are, but it's not very profound, the work they do.
Okay. So there's a way in which, you know, you still feel hurt, like you didn't get those early needs filled. For love, you got the shelter and food and discipline, but you didn't get that nurturing, bouncy baby, cooey, lovey thing going on. So you, you know, you have some needs, and it shows up in your legs, and maybe even some rigidity in your back from what you're saying.
Very much. Lower back.
Yeah. So, you know, it would be good to do some energy work with somebody. I mean, people are working online, so you could work with anybody anywhere in the world, you know, so right now. So it'd be great. Yeah. And I think you could, that would be very nice, because can you stand up a minute? Can I see you?
Sure.
Okay. Can you walk back toward the wall where you?
Yeah, I'm going to let me change this.
Okay, go all the way. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to move this one, and let me see.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. And if everybody puts him on speaker view, you can see him. See his beautiful house. Hey, I want that house. Come on, that's gorgeous. Okay, you're fine. Okay, so what happens, you know, yeah, you didn't get enough early on, but somehow, so you need to work with that, but somehow you got manipulated, or you felt like an object in some way. So you have a trust issue, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, you have your head, you rely on your head a lot. That's how you get through life. And, you know, you haven't really embodied. So you need to find a core therapist to work with the body. But, you know, you have a beautiful, you know, you have good energy and great taste. So, you know, come sit down again, but thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Great.
Okay. I'll come back to gallery view. Okay. Anyone, any other questions? I don't know how we're doing time-wise here. Mike, are you still? What?
Yeah. Did Karen answer your question when she was talking earlier?
Yes.
Okay.
So are we done with questions, Mike, or are there more?
Well, there's Kelly Newton had a question.
Hi, Karen. This is Kelly.
Hi.
Yeah, I was hoping you could speak more on body development as it relates to breasts. I was once told by an acupuncturist years ago that in women, it's very easy for breast development to stop, like that they will just be halted and they won't reach the size that they are genetically supposed to be. And I was curious, like in your work, what have you found that will inhibit breast development? Because I come from a family of women, and I've seen this in clients where it's like you look at the hips and the breasts actually do not balance out the hips, like wide hips, but really tiny upper body. And that shows up a lot in my family, but genetically, you know, there are so many women with large breasts in my family. It's interesting to see which daughters actually have the large hips but small chest. I can't hear you.
Yeah, Karen, we can't hear you. We still can't hear you, Karen.
And she's not technically on mute.
Yeah, you don't look muted. Did your mic get disconnected or something?
Oh no.
Yeah, Karen, you're showing is muted. There you go.
Okay, I just changed mics. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm not using my external mic. I don't know. But okay, so I'm sorry about that. Technical problems, which I'm not very good at. Okay, so Kelly, in cornergetics, it's always thought of as orality, or that the person didn't get enough juice, either from mother or father, depending when. So it could be that mother didn't nurture enough early on, you know, that maybe she was practical and taking care of business and hold the babies have to be held. Or else it could be with the dad, or not having enough of that testosterone energy. If the baby girl doesn't get enough attention, sometimes from dad, that could do it. That's a cornergetic perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But the genetic thing you're describing in your family, which is interesting, is small chest with large hips. It can be a form of female psychopathy, meaning these women are very nice, very sweet, you know, big smiles on their faces, but you better do what they want. I wouldn't want.
I think you just described the women in my family. Yes, thank you.
Right. So, right, exactly. They got to get their way, but they'll do it so nicely, right? Again, that it's this is where I don't get confused, but I think it's where genetic and where nurture and nature meet. That I think that some of it is definitely nature, but then nurture feeds right into it.
Okay, thank you.
You can inherit it, but you don't have to inherit the manipulative part. You have a choice.
Right, right.
Okay. Any other?
Your last question?
Yeah, I'm just curious, Karen. It's Doug again in New York. Particularly working with younger clients who identify as non-binary. I'm wondering about how all of this, how you would suggest we hold this with people who don't identify as masculine or feminine, one or the other, but non-binary. Any thoughts?
Well, I think about it a lot because obviously I have some of those clients. I even have a daughter who's probably non-binary. You know, it's like, it's a little bit complicated because they may be right. In other words, depending on what the mother would, you know, a lot of my recent work has been on pregnant women, because depending on what was going on for the mother while she had that baby in her womb, what kind of hormones flooded that child can certainly make people non-binary. So for example, I don't, what was I going to ask? Well, you know, it's just true that, you know, right now, COVID, everyone who's pregnant right now, those babies that are going to be born in a few months are going to be probably non-binary because of the stress. The hormones are going to change. And people are worried about getting COVID and having babies. I mean, you know, statistics show that more schizophrenia comes from babies born at times of war or great stress. And this is a time of great stress. So I don't think, you know, I trust those kids when they're talking about this, because I think that women in our culture have been kind of felt pressured to go out and work and do everything. And, you know, we're supposed to be super women. We're supposed to be mothers and still have great jobs and all this stuff. And I think it affects people's hormonal, and hormones affect sexuality and gender. So, you know, I'm very sensitive to it. I don't have an answer for it, but I think it's happening. So do I bring that into a reading? Maybe, maybe not, depending on if I think the client wants to hear that, or, you know, generally, there's so many things you can talk about in the body that I don't think you have to fall onto that to do good work with somebody. Okay, Mike, anything else, or should we?
Well, there was kind of a follow-up about that, about what about transgender?
Okay, you know, there was some, who asked that? Is the transgender person asked that, or someone else asked?
GDV asked that.
Are you here?
Yes, yes. Hi.
Okay, hi. I think it's a good question, and I think I would need to be very sensitive to the person. Are you transgender yourself?
Yes, but there are many, many different kinds of transgender, I've noticed.
Okay. Do you want to say something about that?
Well, some trans women are, you grow up actually preferring women. Some transgender women grow up preferring men. Some transgender women are, how should I say, some transgender women go through a cross-dressing phase. Some transgender women don't. Then there's transgender men.
Okay, so let me just interrupt to say, that doesn't really reflect on a body reading. I mean, I haven't asked anybody here who they want to have sex with, because it doesn't really matter. I mean, we're not trying to predict who your lover is going to be. The body reading is to find out more about you, or if you're working as a therapist, to help you find out more about your client. So it's where it would be useful in terms of transgender is basically my feeling about this, and I could be wrong because I just haven't worked with enough transgender people to feel safe and sure about what I'm saying. But I would feel the same way about a transgender person that I feel when I work with a football player. I have to look to see what's under the I have to look at the whole developmental thing. I have to see the boy under the girl, or the girl under the boy. So I'm reading the body in layers because it all counts. I don't know if that makes sense to you, Judy. So it does. It makes a more interesting body reading and more work to do for the therapist, because we get, or maybe it's even, we get to see all the layers. They're right there. And I think it's a beautiful piece of work, to be honest with you. So it's different than who their sexual preference is. It's who they are as a person and what they need to do to enhance their lives. And that's how I would look at it.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, I probably need to learn a lot more about it. I mean, it's just, I just haven't worked with enough people who have had that experience to really feel sure about what I'm telling you. Okay, is there anything else, Mike?
Well, Maureen Johansson was asking a follow-up about trauma during gestation.
Maureen? Are you here? Okay, well, I don't think, I don't see her.
Yes, hi.
Okay.
Yes,
Where
my
are you?
mother, hi. My mother was born July 20, 1919. So with all the talk about how this pandemic is similar to the Spanish flu pandemic, I realized she would have been conceived in September of 1918 when they were having a shutdown for the Spanish flu. And it was something that, you know, we had family stories about living through the Depression and such, but it was never one of the family stories. So I was always curious about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's kind of sad that it wasn't part of the family story. From your point of view, because I obviously don't know your mother and I can't see her body, would you have seen anything that would make you feel that that being in the womb during that period might have affected her?
Just that she seemed to be have certain fears. You know, she was fearful, partly because she had other tragedies in her life, losing a brother unexpectedly, and then her father died just before she got married, and so there were just a number of things like that.
Yeah.
She seemed to be very fearful.
All right. Well, I think, you know, again, some of that could have come from that period because I'm sure her mother was pretty fearful and she probably got a good dose of adrenaline or noradrenaline in her bloodstream.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think we just don't pay enough attention to what happens to babies when they're in the womb. Like how many people right now have anxiety, but do we ever think about what it was like in the womb?
Right.
So, but thank you for sharing that. Again, it's hard to say without seeing a picture of her. Did she have any other mental health issues other than the anxiety?
Probably a little depression.
Okay. I mean, those are, you know, kind of fairly normal. And again, not every baby. Where was she born? What city?
Oh, she was born in Rhode Island.
Oh, okay. Right. So I don't know what the death rate was in Rhode Island during that period. You know, again, it probably would be situational. I lost quite a few relatives. In fact, the pictures behind me were painted drawings were two of my great aunts who died in that epidemic.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, so it was a very stressful time. But and it's good that she's here. You're here because she's here, so that's great.
I know, but can you imagine after all these years, I just never realized that was true. So it just goes to show how we don't know that much about.
Right, and people don't know themselves what affects them. I mean, we don't know all the stuff that affected us.
Right.
Yeah, so it's
yes, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so I think I'm going to go back and just finish up the slides, and because it's getting late, I don't know what time it is exactly, but how are you all doing? Are you still awake?
Several people have signed off because they had other obligations or had to go.
Right. Okay, well, we'll just finish it up quickly, and then we'll all sign off. Let's just share screen again. Okay, so I just put trauma. So the body gets distorted when there's trauma, and I have no idea anything about these people. So these are just pictures from a magazine. But when something like this shows in the pelvis, when the thigh, when the weight drops all the way down into the thighs, almost to the knee, that could be sexual abuse, and it may not be. So you always have to ask and be very, very tactful. Here again, when a person has flabby fat, which is kind of an oral kind of fat, it's bouncy and flabby, that person often has suffered trauma. So believe it or not, this person could be schizoid, as could this person, even though their bodies are apparently very different. Both of them might have felt unwelcome on the planet. Both of them may have, had a problem in the womb or right after. But where bodies get a distortion, it's not the person's fault. We don't want to judge them. It's just a sense the body, both these women are survivors. I mean, all three of these women are survivors, and their bodies help them survive. But it's a way of helping them acknowledge their stories and do whatever they need to do to heal their story. The only reason this picture is here is I don't really know anything about this guy, but I just thought it was interesting that this whole costume centers on the heart. And I do think when you do body readings or when you look at bodies, and tonight even when you take off your own shirt, look at what's happening around the heart. What kind of an indentation do you have here? You can get what we call a leak of energy at the heart in two periods. One, early on, if you didn't get nurtured in the way you as a baby needed it. And two, later on, when you had a crush on one of your parents and you felt like they were rejecting you. So both of those situations lead to heart issues. And then here's another guy with a heart issue. But in this case, you have this hair cover. So body hair, what's the meaning of body hair? Well, it's a cover. Just like, a curtain on a stage. It's like, I have some issues around my heart, but I'm not going to tell you about them. And this guy has it not just here, but he has it down at I forgot my little wand, but he has it down at the solar plexus as well. So that issue is something he's either hiding fear here or hiding confusion about his life path. So I was going to do a meditation, but I think it's too late. So I just want to say what I'm thinking about.
No, I don't think it's too late, Karyne. I mean, I'm here.
I don't think so neither.
What?
Right.
I don't think so neither.
All right,
Yeah.
I'll be right back for the meditation. Let me just say, I'm thinking about doing a supervision group Wednesday, October 7th, 14th, 21st, and 28th. Would probably be around 6 in the evening or something like that. I have $200 written here. If people tell me they want to join sooner, I will do it for $150, and there will be continuing education credits. So just think about that. I'll probably send out another note about it. All right, all right, so meditation. Let me just stop sharing for a minute. Okay, so are you ready for a closing meditation? So I want you all to just sit back and relax and get comfortable in your chairs. You can even close your eyes if you want. And just breathe in slowly and breathe out slowly. So you're going to inhale slowly, deeply. In fact, inhale love. Just breathe in love, taking a nice, slow, deep breath in. And then as you exhale, just exhale any fear or negativity you're holding. Slow, deep exhalation out. And as you're breathing in very slowly, breathing in love, and breathing out slowly, breathing out fear and negativity, feel your sit bones on your chair or couch. If you can lean back, let the chair or couch or bed support you so you can really let go and give over. So breathing in slowly, breathing out slowly. I'd like you to imagine beautiful pastel colors above your head. Pinks, blues, greens, yellows, purples, whites, every pastel color. And those pastel colors enter through your crown chakra and they become light, warming, undulating light moving through your body. Beautiful, warm, pastel colored light, warming every organ, every muscle, every tendon, every bone in your body. Beautiful pastel colors moving through you and then moving out the bottom of your feet, taking with them any stress, tension, so that you can have a beautiful evening, if it's evening where you are, or day, if it's day where you are. A day or evening, relaxed and fulfilling. Now, I'd like you to come to the top of your head, your crown chakra. And I'd like you to just sit there with your crown chakra in your mind's eye. And I'd like you to open up to a vision, any vision. Don't try to force a vision. Whatever comes to you as you sit in your crown chakra. Maybe you'll have a vision of a bird or a tree or the sun. Whatever your vision is, it's yours for your crown chakra. Just allow your mind's eye to take in that vision, and you'll come back to it later with deep understanding. And now move down to your third eye in the center of your forehead. Breathe into your third eye. Breathe in love. Exhale any fear. And again, welcome a vision, visual image, one you do not think about, one you do not plan. Let it appear and just accept it and welcome it. It may be a light image or a dark image. It's your image, just welcome it. And breathe slowly and fully. Deep breath in, deep breath out. And now come down to your throat chakra and welcome your throat chakra, the beautiful blue color of your throat chakra. And remember, this is the chakra about receiving as well as about speaking your truth. And breathe in love, breathe out fear, and allow an image to radiate from your throat chakra? What's the image for your throat chakra? It's your image, belongs to you, only you. And again, just allow your visual gifts to bring you the image. Don't use your brain, don't use your frontal lobes. And now come down to your heart chakra. The beautiful pinks, green, pastel colors of your heart. Breathe in love. Breathe out fear. And welcome an image for your heart chakra. Whatever it is, just welcome it, accept it in the most mindful way you can. Let it fill the chakra. Let your image fill your chakra. And now moving down to the solar plexus. That beautiful, big, yellow chakra. The center. Your life path. Breathe in love. Breathe out fear. And welcome this chakra. And welcome the vision. Whatever visual image wants to be born into the chakra, welcome it. And give it space to fill that chakra. Accept it, welcome it. Even if you don't understand it, welcome it. And now move down to your gut, your belly. And breathe in love. And breathe out fear. And open yourself up to the intuition of the gut. The gut can tell you if something's right or if it's wrong. It can speak to the present moment. And allow an image to fill your gut. What's the image of your gut? Visualize that image in your mind's eye. Receive it. Welcome it. Be mindful of it. And now move down into the pelvis, the legs, the ankles, the feet, the whole pelvic chakra, the root chakra, all of that together. Well, let's save the root chakra for last. Let's just do the pelvic chakra. So this is your sexuality, your sexual feelings, your sexual activity. And just welcome that. Welcome the image that radiates your life force. Sexuality and core energetics is life force. It's your vitality. It's your energy. What image comes to you? Breathe in love, breathe out fear, and allow yourself to welcome this image. Now move down to the root chakra at the perineum. And with this we'll include the legs, knees, calves, ankles, feet. And welcome this energy. Breathe in love. Breathe out fear. And the root chakra is your connection to ancestors. It's your connection to the ground. It's your connection to the earth. It's your connection to moving forward, to building a life, To build that life, you need to move forward. You can't stay in one place. You need to be flexible and to move and then not be overgrounded, but not be undergrounded either. To allow an image to come up to you out of the earth from your root chakra to greet you and welcome that image. Now I'm going to be quiet for 30 seconds to a moment, and I'd like you to take all your images from the crown chakra, third eye, throat, heart, solar plexus, abdomen, pelvic, and root chakra, and just hold them together as if they're one picture, kind of one image on top of another image, and begin to see the integration of all that came to you here with me in this gathering. Breathing in, breathing out, experiencing your images as they come together. Welcome all these images. And I'm going to ask you to hold these images for the next few days. And allowing yourself to contemplate their meaning and allowing each image to speak to you and to help you understand your own story, your past, your present, and your future. Now I'm going to count backwards from 5 to 1. When I get to 1, everyone's going to stretch and feel great. And if it's bedtime where you are, you're just going to be relaxed and have wonderful sleep. And if it's daytime where you are, you're going to have great energy and be ready to have a wonderful day. And you'll remember everything that happened here so that you can use this to help yourself in your own growth process. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're going to come back and you're going to stretch, really stretch, and kind of wiggle a little bit, and then just open your eyes softly and look around. Oh boy. Oh. So, you know, you've been a wonderful, wonderful to have with you, and I hope this was helpful to you in some way. Again, I don't have all the answers, and I always approach body reading as a collaboration between me and whoever I'm reading, because we do it together. Thank you for being here. And if you're interested in the supervision, if you let me know, you can email me or text me. That would be great. And meanwhile, I will send out something in a couple weeks. So I'm just going to let you wherever you are, and thank you again. And I'm going to end the meeting right now, and lots of love. And thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Karyne. It was lovely to see you.
Thank
so
you.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Yeah, let us know about the supervision. I'm very interested.
Me too.
All right, super. I need 6 to 8 people at least, and then we'll go. Okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Bye, love.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.